Unfortunately, this is the fourth or fifth attempt to cancel me because over the years, the folks have not liked what I have to say. And what students seem to forget is that as a professor, we can pretty much say what we'd like to say, and we can write pretty much what we'd like to write.
You're watching Restoring America, where we shine a light on the fundamental values of this country and all the reasons why they're worth saving. This week, we're going to talk about the mob. Not the criminal gangs from the 1950s and 60s, but the rabid leftists running our college campuses today. I'm Keelan McGee-White, and this is Restoring America. This past spring, the country watched as some of its most venerable universities were overrun by anti-Israel protesters, most of whom were students, but not all. They occupied classrooms, even entire buildings, and set up campsites on university lawns. Their disruption was entirely unacceptable, and in some cases, even illegal. But now that school is back in session, many of these students are right back at it. In fact, my guest today was the target of a recent campus protest at his university. Students demanded a campus-wide boycott of his classes and even barged in on one of them to shout him down, all because he supports Israel and happens to have conservative views. The point of these protests is intimidation. The left wants to scare us into silence and submission. So how can individuals combat this? My guest today is going to break this down, but before we get to him, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and for more, head to washingtonexaminer.com. With me today is Sam Abrams, a professor at Sarah Lawrence College and a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. You wrote an op-ed for the Washington Examiner recently about being canceled on your own campus by students who were upset with your support for Israel. Can you explain to us a little bit about what happened and what that was like?
Sure. Unfortunately, this is the fourth or fifth attempt to cancel me because over the years, the folks have not liked what I have to say. And what students seem to forget is that as a professor, we can pretty much say what we'd like to say, and we can write pretty much what we'd like to write. And when I write about things like Israel, Hamas, the Middle East, I'm expressing my academic and personal views. They are not things that I teach in the classroom whatsoever. So at the end of the summer, Sarah Lawrence has something called shopping period, where we basically sit in Zoom rooms and we share what our courses are about. This year, I'm teaching a course on polarization and a course on presidential leadership and decision making. And unbeknownst to me, as I logged on, many other students were logging on. And as those other students were logging on, they were being contacted by a group called the Divestment Coalition. And these students were being direct messaged from this coalition, messages that basically said, I'm an ardent Zionist who believes in Israel's right to self-defense. I'm a misogynist. Some folks have accused me of being a rapist, for instance. And they suggested that they don't take courses with me or there will be consequences. This is scary because not only are they trying to shut down viewpoint diversity, shut down what I'm trying to teach, but at a small college like Sarah Lawrence, what can happen is reputations can be harmed. If students are discovered to be taking a course from me, my goodness, God only knows what their classmates and peers are thinking. So unfortunately, when this happened, many students were scared off from taking these courses with me. At the end of the day, my courses have now filled. I'm grateful for that. I don't teach about Israel or the Middle East, but the problem for me with this whole mess is how the school responded to it. After these emails were sent and these messages were sent, and it turns out that messages were posted all over various social media boards that were on Instagram and so on, I shared this with the college, and they simply chose not to act. Not only did they not condemn overt anti-Semitism, they failed to speak out to say, we at a liberal arts institution don't cancel and don't boycott ideas. We listen to ideas. We embrace viewpoint diversity. And then finally, they never did anything by releasing any sort of statement saying, hey, we don't try to disrupt classes. We don't do that here. And instead of doing anything, the administration chose to remain silent. And by remaining silent to the students, they sent a clear message that everything the students did, from the anti-Semitism to trying to boycott and cancel ideas they don't like, to disrupting classes, is a set of actions and views that are now acceptable here at Sarah Lawrence College.
Yeah, very disturbing. And as you mentioned, this is the fourth or fifth time that students have tried to shut you down because not only are you Jewish, but you are also a conservative. And apparently that is not allowed on many college campuses today. So why have these tactics that they've been using? Why are the boycotts, the shouting downs? Why is the intimidation? Why is all of this so commonplace on college campuses today?
It works. That's the scary part. It's very effective. I wish it weren't. I'm very lucky. I have tenure. I can speak freely. Many faculty do not have tenure. I'm at a liberal arts college. That's a really big plus for me. When you're at a bigger school like a Columbia or a Harvard, you need to basically play well with others as a faculty member because you need to continue to publish in academic journals. You need to be well respected by your colleagues because this can impact funding opportunities, teaching opportunities. You may not, or you may be promoted based on how well you're liked. You need your peers, your colleagues to rally behind you. You don't want any sort of negative attention. So the problem is when people protest you, light is shined on you or shown on you. And when that happens, faculty are very scared. I, being at a liberal arts college, have the ability to say, I don't need that. That doesn't affect me. Again, I'm tenured. We don't receive benefits based on our research. We're a teaching college, and there's very little the school can do. I can speak the truth, and there's, again, very little consequence. But a lot of faculty simply do not want this attention. They do not want the stress, and they sort of want to disappear. So they are basically very effective, very productive, again, tactics. And the faculty are scared and would rather just not deal with it and hold the line.
And one of the consequences that you recently experienced, even at Sarah Lawrence, where, as you mentioned, you have more protection than other bigger schools, is you noticed that few of your peers in the faculty were willing to speak out in your defense. Were they scared of being intimidated in the same way? And what would you say to them now?
I would say to them very simply, you are a disgrace, unfortunately, to what it means to be a professor. We do this to teach and to pursue truth. And that means you listen to others, you challenge others, you have a debate, you have a discourse. They don't want to do that. They'd rather hide in their offices or their homes. They'd rather stay at home. They'd rather take shots at me and others over social media. And they don't want to talk about it. No one has really said, what are your thoughts about Israel? What are your thoughts about Netanyahu? They've never asked. They don't want to have these dialogues. They don't want to have this level of discourse. They'd much rather say things that rally students behind them. And they'd really rather not engage in what the purpose of a university is, which is to pursue truth and to help teach students how to understand that truth and how to take in evidence and figure out what's right, what's not, what works and what doesn't work. To me, we failed. And that's really the problem here. We failed as an institution of higher education because our goal is to help open up people's minds and understand that there is a value to debate, dialogue, discourse. I am not an extremist whatsoever. I am very proud of trying to present as many viewpoints as I can in my classroom. And when I teach things, even this fall on polarization and for instance the political parties, we're doing work on understanding where the Democratic Party is and where the Republican Party is. We were reading things all across the spectrum. That is what we are supposed to do as teachers. This is what we're supposed to do as educators, to lift up and to help students understand this. When faculty don't want to rally behind a very clear case of not only anti-Semitism, but a boycott, an attempted cancellation, and a disruption, that really speaks volumes about what they believe in. They don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be the center of attention, but they came to me and I had to push back. And fortunately, I was able to do that.
And you mentioned earlier that your classes are now full, even in spite of what has happened. So do you see hope on the horizon for the state of higher education? Do you think that there is a way for schools like your own to return to free and open academic inquiry and debating these important topics?
I do, actually. And if I didn't, I don't think I'd stay a professor much longer. And it's not because I try to have rosy colored glasses on either. Every time I have meaningful dialogues with students, they surprise me because they are curious, they're open-minded, and they understand that they can be a little uncomfortable. Just this week, we talked about identity politics and sort of the antecedents to the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion mess that we're dealing with. I can tell you without any question, no one stormed out of the room. No one was crying. There was some discomfort, but we talked very candidly about why DEI has been a good thing for understanding difference and how it's gone awry and off the rails in other ways. We had a very wonderful 90-minute discussion about it. People's feelings may have been hurt a little bit, but as long as we enter the room, let the students know we're here to learn, debate, and discuss, I am very lucky to find that large numbers of students still want to do that. The problem we're dealing with today is the echo chamber and the cancel culture situation. A small number of people can totally disrupt a class. A small number of people can disrupt a campus culture. I know that the people who tried to cancel me do not represent the majority of students on campus whatsoever. It's a small number. Their social media posts are not followed by very many people, but they're organized, they're loud, and the administration is scared. So they don't want to push back. We need the right leadership, and we've seen the right leadership at some places. Now, former President Sass at the University of Florida has done an amazing job holding the line, saying, is it that hard to say that on October 7th there was a massacre? It isn't. He did the right thing. We see great leadership coming out of the University of North Carolina. And then we see schools like University of Austin saying, we're going to try to be better than that. And I think they are better than that. I am still very hopeful, but we need the right leaders, the right trustees, and to reassert the fact that we care about viewpoint diversity and real genuine education. Too many faculty come in as scholar activists. That needs to stop. And we need to demand, and our students need to demand, that they don't want to be in echo chambers. There are many students who, hate this. They've told me. The students who come to my office hours regularly say they're so glad to be in this class, but they know friends who just couldn't handle the pressure and the public facing shame of it. And that hurts. The good news is, though, I think there are still enough students, even at Sarah Lawrence, that want more. And when I visit other schools, the rooms are often packed, and it's always the same story. We want more. We want to know what's out there. We're better than this. And I truly believe that our nation's undergrads are. We as adults, meaning teachers and administrators, need to give them the responsible, set of ideas that we're failing to do.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah Lawrence's students are very lucky to have you as one of their professors, and we are so grateful to you for joining us today. Thanks so much. And
Anytime.
for more breaking news, exclusive interviews, and conservative views, be sure to check out washingtonexaminer.com.